support for Success Express, your business, career, and financial radio magazine. Hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio Success Express Business and Career Show with Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. We are the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines. You can check them out at BigBlendMagazines.com. And in our Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, you'll often see articles and interviews from San Diego-Attorney-Ward-Heinrichs. And he's back on the show today to give us an update about what's going on with this California ABC-Independent-Contractor-Test. Plus, there's this whole new thing called the AB5. The governor's signing things. It's just been this conversation that's been going on, and action has been taken, and things are changing in California business. So really good to have him back on the show. We're back on the show today to keep us up to date. Go read his articles. Just go to blendradioandtv.com. You'll see his interviews there too. Also, go to his website. That's the most important thing. bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. Ward's also on Facebook and Twitter. So welcome back, Ward. How's it going?
It's going really well. It's a beautiful day out in San Diego, like it almost always is. And I am really looking forward to talking to you about AB5 and the new legislation on the ABC test that the governor has signed. You know, we've been talking about it and anticipating it, and you've interviewed me before on it, but now it's in black and white, so we can really have some stuff to talk about. Yep.
I still feel like we need to have the ABC blocks out, and I have the little different colors, but you know, I just go into child mode when I hear ABC test. And so let's start with that. You know, right, Nancy?
Oh, right,
that's just, you know, that's where my brain goes. I'm like, I want to get my little building blocks out. But let's talk about the independent contractor test in the beginning, what that was about, and then get into what the governor just signed.
Yeah, gladly. Before the Dynamics case, which happened about a year and a half ago, that was a Supreme Court case in California that changed the test for independent contractor. But before that, there was what we call the Borello test, and it's an 11-factor test, and actually you can even add factors if the court will let you. And it was pretty amorphous, pretty complicated, left room to argue both ways. And then after the Supreme Court passed the Dynamics case, or didn't pass, had a holding in the Dynamics case, the ABC test became the law, at least for the wage order. So that's a limited bit of California regulation, just regulates overtime, meal periods, minimum wage, things like that. So the ABC test became the law for that. And the ABC test is much simpler, and it's also designed to bring gig economy workers who are usually considered independent contractors, or who have been in most cases throughout the country, bring them in and make them employees. And so once that happened, then the legislature this year said, hey, look, we should make it consistent throughout employment law in California. And they just passed the law, the governor just signed it, that does do that. It makes the ABC test applicable to almost every facet of employment law in California.
Wow. Okay. So when you say that California, because oftentimes in employment law, sometimes you have San Diego, but not in the mountains. It has to be San Diego City proper versus California. So all of this means that this is right, everybody. This affects everyone.
Yeah, this affects everyone.
Okay. So before we were talking about like what happens if you're a web designer, then they could say you're actually an employee versus an independent contractor. What about salespeople? So what you've got an article up, and everyone, if you go to blendradioandtv.com, just look at Ward in the expert department, or type in AB5 or ABC, type in your ABCs, and you'll find these articles. And you've got a new one talking about all these exemptions, because that's what we were talking about. Is like, if you're a band in a bar and you play there every Friday night, are you now an employee? So there's this big list of exemptions. So is it kind of a little bit more balanced than what we were thinking was going to happen?
Yes, I think so. When you raise the issue of, well, could a band be an employee that plays in your bar every once in a while. And I told you about that case out on the East Coast where that was found that the band was considered to be an employee. Here, there is an exemption that might apply there. I mean, of course, we have to litigate and see whether it really will, but it's called the business-to-business exemption. And as long as you can meet all the requirements in that test, you have to be an independent business, you name your own hours, name your own wages, all that kind of stuff, then I think a band could be exempt under that exemption in AB5.
What about people that are solo owners, like, solopreneurs, and they kind of just go do all these little things and they just go, well, make the check out to me. And they're like, who cares about, a licensed business name because I do a bunch of different things. Are they going to be in trouble now?
Well, the solopreneur could be in trouble if they don't have the right licenses and certificates. I mean, there's a business license in San Diego you're supposed to have, for instance. The penalties for that are really small, and they usually don't even enforce it. They just say, hey, pay the fee that you're originally supposed to pay. So I don't think AB5 will affect that. That's whether the city's going to enforce it or not. But if you don't have the certificate and you're required to by the municipality, then that probably would kick that solopreneur out of an exemption, and they really could be an employee because that's usually required under most of the exemptions.
Wow. Okay. So this is getting complex, Ward.
No, it's not simple. It is not simple. There's a lot of AB5 right now is just a mass of thick paragraphs, and it's not the statute hasn't been organized in the normal statutory fashion, so it's really not easy to read. And even after it is reorganized, it's still going to have so many different little things that you got to really pay attention to before you can qualify for an exemption. I mean, some of them are easy, like if you're a lawyer and you're practicing law, yeah, you're probably exempt unless you're working for a big firm, then you're an employee.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, so what about realtors? Like, what if you're in real estate and you're a broker?
Like a broker.
No, there are exemptions for them. They just have to be certified through the state, licensed through the state, and there may be a couple other things there. You see, I'm not going to know all the little things that you need to do for each one of these exemptions, but certainly you have to be licensed with the state. If you aren't licensed with the state, then you would be an employee. If you are licensed with the state, then you got to meet the other requirements too, but you probably would. So real estate generally is going to be exempt.
No matter what you do, if you're a social media marketer, you probably need to go be licensed, get a business name, go beyond the business card.
Well, there is. No. You're essentially right. There is a professional exemption. So there are. Let's see, B through H. I think that's 7 generalized exemptions. I should have counted it up before we started here, but I think that's 7. And one of them is called professional. Well, it's for professional services. And then under that exemption, paragraphs down, it defines what a professional service is, and it lists like another 7 or 8 professions that could be that would be exempt under this, very specific, like marketing. So if you're the type of marketer you were talking about, a multimedia marketer or whatever, then you could be exempt under that if you meet the other requirements of this exemption.
Wow. So you could be. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're independent and you have several different clients, say you do marketing and you have several different clients, doesn't the fact that you have several different clients tell the state that you are not an employee?
Not necessarily. You'd have to fit into one of these exemptions. So again, let's talk about marketer. I can just read it to you, and I'm going to have to probably read a lot of this stuff to you today. It says professional services means services that meet any of the following. Marketing, provided that the contracted work is original and creative in character, and the result of which depends primarily on invention, imagination, or talent of the employee, or work that is an essential part of or necessarily incidental to any of the contracted work. So that's a gobbledygook stuff, right? But what I'm saying is, they got to be creative. They can't just be punching, doing simple clerical work that is under the marketing umbrella.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Like filling out order forms or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Order forms, or maybe even posting stuff online. Just posting. I mean, is that really imaginative, inventive, or talent?
Are you writing the content behind it? Yeah, it's that it's interesting going through this list of those working as qualified professionals. You're okay if you're a cartoonist for a newspaper. Now, is that just so that the politicians can have like a nice cartoon of them? I'm sorry, but I just had to do that. Freelance.
A cartoonist can be freelance, but they can't do more than 35 projects for the same agency. If they do 36, then they're an employee.
Oh,
Excuse me, not that they're an employee. The employer has to prove they're an employee under the ABC test, which, as we have stated in other interviews, that could be really hard to do.
Okay, what happens if you sell them a package saying, I'll give you 35 for this amount, 70 for this amount, 70 cartoons for this amount?
I don't think that in the same year, I don't think that'll work.
Oh, that sucks.
And I think it's yearly, but boy, it might be just 35 total. Again, let's see. Yeah, it's per year. It's 35 per year.
So
I'm scrolling through the statute as we're talking, and I'm just trying to pick up some of the specific stuff because there's so much specific stuff. It would really be hard to know all this stuff on the top of your head. You'd have to work with it all the time. Yeah. And so every time someone says to me, well, I think I'm a graphic designer, I go, okay, maybe you are, but do you meet these things? So,
oh my God. So this is going to be like a whole ordeal when freelancers go out and try to bid for a contract, and it's going to be like, here's your red tape to go through for 10 years before you can even be thought of, you know what I mean? Like if you want to do a website, we need to make sure you're not an employee. You know what I mean? I think companies are going to get, and it's interesting because companies got to this point of, oh, people want to work from home. They want to be, we're in a mobile digital nomad society. It's cost effective for them. People like it, especially if you're a mom working at home. And now there's this interesting thing here.
Well, I think a website designer, and you've mentioned that a couple times, is probably a professional marketer.
Yeah.
And probably because, there's some creativity to that, and invention and talent. I mean, they know how to do it. Not everyone knows how to do it. So I would guess that most web designers who have a cadre of clients are going to be independent contractors.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're okay
on
that.
There's so many companies there's so many companies who have an IT department, and one of those employees is the web person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of companies that do that, but then there's a whole lot that have independent contractors do their websites for them.
Yeah, my web guy's an independent contractor. He has multiple clients. I really feel confident that he would be exempt under this. But yeah, you can bring him in-house and make an employee. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's up to both sides of what they want to do. I know PR people that left big publishing houses or big companies because they do that. Let's clear the house every few years. Somebody new is in town. That's it, and off they go on their own, and they do steal the clients. Just saying, I know you out there, and then they're off and running on their own. Whereas sometimes you have independents, and next thing you know, they go to the big publish. You know what I mean? It's like they've been working with them for a long time. I know one in specific. I can't name names here because you never know. They're not in California, but that would be interesting if they're in California. But they're one of their main clients. She was doing it as independent, and this is a giant organization he's with, and he's a big public dude. And I just and big national TV, all that stuff, and all of a sudden she's working for the organization because that's her main client, because it's like nonstop. That's all he does, is he's a spokesperson. And I wonder if always wondered about that. I was like, well, that's an interesting change, and I don't get into people's business, but I'm wondering, is it because of these new laws that she just said, okay, that's it, I'm going to work for you?
I don't know, how long ago did that happen?
Holidays of this about a year ago, just in the new year of this year. So I mean, that's a year ago, but they're in two different states, right? And he travels the country, travels all over doing media stuff.
Yeah, my guess on that one would be became advantageous to both parties to bring her in.
Yeah.
It was probably market driven and not legally driven.
Okay.
But you will see changes in the market because of this law. That will certainly happen.
And you could still work from home, right? Because they're fine with that. If you're, digital at home, you can still do that and be employed. You just, there's software like, hey, I'm checking in.
Yeah, it certainly can. I mean, we've even talked about being at-home employees before, and there are all sorts of different issues that can raise, but it's certainly possible, and more it's happening. So yes, that's a possibility.
Now, reading this list again, I'm going to go right to number 13. Certified
Okay.
Motor Club. Come on, like I've got a Ferrari club, so what?
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I really thought of AAA. They're trying to exempt AAA.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought it was like, hey, your work, because there's
vintage car clubs.
Yeah, I went right to the classic cars and stuff. Maybe it's from what we do in the magazine. We're always like, hey, there's a car show, check it out. So yeah, so I was wondering about that because that's interesting. But maybe it is like
that doesn't mean that maybe a small club could possibly be certified and be exempt under this. So I don't know.
Weird.
We'd have to see how that works. I don't know enough about the certification process for motor clubs to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really sure that was directed toward AAA. I got to tell you, I think when I looked at that, I said, "Oh yeah, the AAA," because what they're saying is AAA. If they have service vendors who they have on contract, those people won't be their employees because they can just send them out and have them work for their clients, and they get the exemption.
Like the auto club, when you call them, they don't have a garage with all these guys in it to send out. They have people all over the country that are independent people that just contract to, okay, I'll pick up this one, because it's close by my house.
Well, I like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And then you go from cars to boats, because if you're a commercial fisherman, you may have your own boat, but it must be an American vessel. You must buy it in this country. It cannot come from another place. Like I have a Toyota and half the parts are from Mexico and Japan, so I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, it's insane. So, but this is about the fisherman being like really from, his neck of the ocean.
Right. And a lot of that's for work comp on boats. When in San Diego, we have lots of boats that go out and fish, commercial boats. And we used to actually, that industry shrunk dramatically. It used to be a huge industry in San Diego, but for various reasons it shrunk. But there's still some that do that, and they go all over the world and fish. So how do we take care of them? And I think this is directed at that. If they've got the license, then they can be exempt. Is the idea from the ABC test? Okay.
Oh, the other one that you were talking about, recognized professions like lawyer, architect, a private investigator. So Dog the Bounty Hunter, Nancy, he's covered. He's exempt.
Bounty Hunter.
Hey. He used to stay in the hotel here that we're at in Yuma, the Dog the Bounty Hunter, so he could jump over the border. But it's true.
Yes, dog in California is probably exempt from the ABC test. Now that doesn't mean. Now let me make something clear though. I keep saying the ABC test. Usually, in all of these, they say, well, yeah, you're exempt from the ABC test, but that doesn't mean you're still not an independent contractor under some other test. And most often they cite to the Borello case, which is where we started all this, is the 11-factor test So that will still apply. So the old law will still apply in these exemption cases, or maybe some other law that they've pointed to specifically in the statute.
Oh, wow.
So when you're talking about like a entertainment person, I'm not putting dog in there because I won't. But anyway,
That's the
when you're
bad
talking about,
entertainment.
yeah, actors and actresses usually have an agent that goes and gets them the jobs. And so they might work on a 2-year movie. Does that make them an employee of the studio?
Well, it does say that there's an exemption for fine artists. So I don't know how they are defining fine artists, but I'm going to assume that an actor probably qualifies.
Yeah, that's interesting because even like, we interview artists that will be in a residency for a month in parks and things like that. Painter, filmmakers, singers, actors, all of that, playwrights. And I was just thinking that I'm like, if they're there for a full month, that's kind of an interesting, and they get a stipend, right? A lot of times.
Yeah, but it doesn't come from the park. The stipend comes from the nonprofit.
Multiple sources giving to the nonprofit who then pays the artist. So that's an interesting thing. They're not in California.
She hastens to add.
I know. Wait, Death Valley. Wait, I'm just saying. But there's, that I wonder about that kind of thing. That's an interesting. But then you're only there for 1 month and then you're gone. So then that wouldn't be, because it's temporary still.
Well, let's say there was an exemption for fine artists, then I would say, well, maybe they are employees. They're, devoting a month of their time, full time, to this, whatever it is, movie, whatever they're doing. And then if there isn't this fine art exemption, then the ABC test, I would say, wow, it sounds like it really might apply, unless you can find some other exemption.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting. This is really interesting, just how all of this works. So the salesperson, the direct salesperson, I find this interesting because there are people who they are just brilliant salespeople. They sell for multiple companies. Even when you think of like even insurance, right? There's insurance brokers who will go find you the best deal, that kind of thing. And a lot of times they will go and work with a big company or, a small business. They'll go in and be like their dude. That happens in the tourism industry. There's people that specialize in booking hotel rooms for hotels. So that's the
Now,
booking managers.
You touched on two potentially separate things. You did touch on insurance. Now, there is an exemption for licensed insurance agents. And so they probably wouldn't be subject to the ABC test. Again, they could still be independent contractors depending on how they run their business under the Borello factors. But you were also talking a lot about direct sales, and they can be exempt too. And I think if they're working in the manner that you're talking about, that sounds like a strong possibility. They're not working for one company; they're working for multiple companies. They have contracts with all these companies. They get, paid per head or whatever it is per widget. Then there's at least room to argue that they are exempt. Put it that way.
Oh, wow.
If you ran a shopping cart and you just had all these different products from all these different people, and you're just like one of the many people who do that kind of business.
Marketers, online marketers.
Yeah, you're just, but you take in the money. I don't know if you're buying the product and selling it, or if you're taking the money in.
Maybe I can look that one up while we're just sitting here a little bit, because I know that there are other requirements for that. Now, can I find it?
Oh yeah, because the companies that they're getting the products from, wow, like that affiliate marketing and stuff like that. If they're getting company products, like there's people who do that through Amazon and.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they probably don't operate on enough of a sales basis, the way we think of a direct salesperson, to qualify. But I could be wrong on that, and that's what I'm trying to see if I can quickly find something.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's going to be more on the affiliate marketers. That's going to be online the marketing side. So long as they work with different people. You know,
Okay,
that's true.
I found it. A direct salesperson or direct sales salesperson as described in section 650 of the Unemployment Insurance Code. So that starts talking about when you go to make an unemployment claim, that you were going to look at that code section to see if they are defined, how you define salesperson. So that's going to define it. So long as the conditions for exclusion from employment under that section are met. So they have to meet the exclusion factors under section 650 of the Unemployment Insurance Code. And that, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of those where it doesn't default to Borello, it defaults to the Unemployment Insurance Code.
Wow. So all these different, this is intense, man. Who is not exempt? I mean, who really needs to be worried?
Most gig workers, unless they fall into an exemption, and they might. So these exemptions will cover some of those gig workers. But the idea behind the legislation and behind Dynamics, the original ABC test that the Supreme Court introduced us to, was, in my opinion, and there have been other legal people who've said the same thing, that it was really directed toward getting Uber and Lyft workers qualified as employees, because Uber and Lyft, they still say they are not employees or independent contractors. We're just a platform that gets people who want rides together with people who provide rides. Right. And I think that's really tough. We'll see where that goes. The other thing about Uber and Lyft is they and there's a third company that works in the gig economy with independent contractors. I'm not remembering who it is, but anyway, those three said they're going to put up $90 million to put a referendum on the next ballot, to qualify a referendum on the next ballot to get exempt. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, it's kind of almost similar, but not like the direct sales thing we were talking about with the online salespeople. They're doing direct sales online with other companies' products, right? The only difference is these people are physically doing a service and driving. But
yeah, they're not salespeople. Well, yeah. No, Uber and Lyft do the marketing. I mean,
that's true.
These guys aren't marketing.
Yeah, they're not in marketing.
But marketing is a service. See, it's kind of interesting. Like, it's just an interesting.
Well, marketing is a service. Now, marketing's exempt under a different code section, under the professional services code section.
I'm just disagreeing with the law is all, like, because I know so much. No, I'm just seeing that you could, like, they could say, listen, this is an online app thing. This is the world we're in now. So, hey, we're going to have this person, the direct sales, he's selling stuff on his website, all these products that from different companies. He's exempt because it's direct sales, it's marketing, it's online. Marketing is a service. He's selling those products, getting a kickback, right? Or a percentage, commission, whatever you want to. Oh, but you can't really even say it's commission. They don't even say commission because that means more like you're being, So then what's the difference? In a way, this is an online app. Hey, here, I'm going to take this. It is a job. It's a service. They're both service oriented in a weird way. That's all I'm saying. There is a slight line of similarity that if I was Uber, I'd use that a little bit, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer at all, but I'm just going, there's a similarity because they're both in a way services and both have a choice of whether or not to sell that product and work with that company or whether or not to take that drive gig, It's interesting. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. All right. I don't think they're going to qualify as direct salespeople, though. I just got to tell you that.
No, I'm just saying there's a similarity, and why didn't they look at the two? It's just an interesting thing, and I don't think they're going to look at Uber as a certified motor club.
Maybe what you're really complaining about, and I think this is a real fair complaint, is why do you exempt this group and not this other group?
Exactly, because they're both service. If you look at it that way, they're both online.
That is just so political, and if you had a good lobby, you had a much better chance of getting an exemption. Uber and Lyft were kind of under the gun because they'd lost some cases already under the Borello. And this was, and they were meeting with unions and
Wow.
trying to get a union agreement that would exempt them from this, but they would provide certain, quote unquote, employment benefits. But they would only provide them if the union agreed that they should be exempt, and they'd get the union to go on their behalf before the legislature and lobby the legislature for that exemption, as long as they were providing these benefits. And they'd probably put that right into the statute if they had convinced the unions to do that. But the union said no. After lots of negotiation, I mean, it went on all summer. They said, no, we're just not going to do that for you, Uber. We think that these people need to be employees. That became their bottom line. And so they didn't get their exemption. And now I think they're going to go directly to the people in a referendum.
But how, the whole purpose of the union is to protect employees. So how does a company that says it has no employees go get a union to protect non-employees?
Well, it was unusual because, Uber was saying, hey, union, we'll work with you and we'll provide some of the benefits that unions negotiate for their union members, but we want to be excluded from the ABC test, the ABC test under AB5. And that is really kind of weird.
It is.
And bottom line, it wasn't bought. So
yeah,
Wow.
I could see where unions would be afraid to even touch it because it, in a sense, would compromise that they're even a union then.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think that's why they backed out of it. They said, well, that's not, we're not in the business of doing that. We're in the business of protecting employees. We think they're employees. We'll get them to unionize anyway. So, and we don't want to look bad. So I think you're right.
I think it'd be really damaging to a union to do that. I mean, and there's union fees, so you're going to tell someone who's not an employee to pay a fee? I don't think so.
Oh.
No, it was an odd pair of bedfellows. Yes.
Yeah. This is interesting. So at the same time, you've got this long list of exemptions that are very interesting. I mean, from cartoon newspaper people to motor clubs, it's interesting. So I think this isn't done yet because it's it's something new, and then it's going to, end up back in court, right? In some way with half of these exemptions.
I think you've hit on something. I don't think the major litigation is going to be about how to apply the ABC test. Of course, we're going to have some, no doubt about it. But I think probably more of the litigation is going to be about how to apply these exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, everybody, don't forget to tip your pizza delivery person. I'm just saying. Pizza delivery people. Yeah, be nice to them. And they are employed, because that's also part of the Uber thing, right? If you're a food delivery, like what about these food delivery companies? That's kind of a new thing too, where oh wow.
And I think that was the third I don't remember the name of it, but I think that was the third company that went in league with Uber and Lyft to put up $90 million. I'm pretty sure it was one of those companies.
Wow.
What about Amazon delivery people? Because they have they're
well, they're employees anyway. I mean, Amazon is always treated as far as I know. I've never heard of an independent contractor case with Amazon. Amazon has their drivers who are employees.
But the people who package the goods up are always asking for minimum wage. So I'm always wondering how come they're not paying minimum wage.
Ooh.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, if they're an employee, you got to pay minimum wage.
Yeah,
so
that's what
I don't know about that.
It might be a different state.
Yeah, the minimum wage the drivers are okay, but the people who are packing the books into the boxes are the ones who are always complaining that I've read.
Is that like current? Is that current, Nancy? Or
yeah, about 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ward, go get him.
Yeah. If you work for Amazon and you pack books, give me a call.
I know. In California, okay? Because Ward will go anywhere in California, right? San Francisco,
Please
all
put
of
the
that.
right book in the right box. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, Ward, always good to have you on the show and keeping us all informed on this. It's like a spider web of like what, but
It's complicated.
It's
It is
complicated,
complicated.
but it's there and it's important. Everyone, again, that list that Ward's talking about is up on blendradioandtv.com. It'll be in the upcoming issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine as well. And of course, got questions, call Ward. 1-800-CALL-WARD. That's what I say. No, go to his website. His website is bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. That's the best place to reach out with him. He's also on Twitter and Facebook, and you can keep up with him there. And we want to thank everyone for joining us here on Big Blend Radio. Our shows air Sunday through Friday now, so they go live every single day except for Saturday, and you never know what's going to happen there. So keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. You can listen as they go live. Our interviews go live on Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and then from there you can catch them on Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Listen Notes, Castbox, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch.
Blah,
so
blah, blah.
go to bigblendradio.com. And of course, we always want to play music. So I think with this, I just want to do it at least because of the title. It's called Hey, Hey, California. Hey, what the heck, man? This is always changing up over there. So Hey, Hey, California from amazing, cool dudes, Everett Coast. Great acoustic duo. You can keep up with them at everettcoast.com. But here it is, Hey, Hey, California. Thanks so much, Ward.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
I'm hoping you know how far I would go for your love. You think you've seen it all before. I'm gonna show you that I can't outgrow you, darling. You leave me wanting more. But now I'm far away in East Tennessee. I just need another drink in front of me. It's been a long damn ride across the country, and it'll be a long damn time till I come home. I'm plucking petals off of flowers. It's been 8 months, 3 days, 2 hours. Every moment I miss you more. But baby, when I get home, I know we'll pick up where we left off. And this show I'm living in will come to a close till I'm back out on the road. But now I'm far away in East Tennessee. I just need another drink in front of me. It's been a long damn ride across the country, and it'll be a long damn time till I come home. On the horizon, only one thing on my mind as I sing, hey, hey, California. Counting county lines and street signs, anything to pass the time as I sing, hey, hey, California. Hey, hey, California. But now I'm far